Hello, this video focuses on taking your first steps with a Linux operating system. I'm going to show you where you can download Linux and then demonstrate how to write the Linux distribution to a USB drive. It's a really simple process, but if you've never done it before, it might be a little bit daunting. So I'm just going to handhold you through the exercise. Now I've gone, using my web browser, I've gone onto Linux Links website, and there's a section in there for distributions, linuxlinks.com/distributions/ and it lists a wide selection of Linux distributions that are available to download. Almost all are free of charge to download. There are some Linux distributions that do require you to spend money, but the vast majority are free to download. So for the purposes of this video, let's download the Ubuntu Linux. Now Ubuntu is a very popular Linux distribution, in part because it's perceived as being very simple to use. It's got a good set of features, it's updated, it's well supported. There's a lot going for Ubuntu. Now obviously there are lots of other Linux distributions, and over time you can try them all because, as I said, the vast majority are free to download. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to download Ubuntu to a folder on our Windows 10 machine. So I'm going to click the Ubuntu link. That takes me to the Ubuntu website, www.ubuntu.com, and now we need to go to the relevant part of their website to download the software. So click downloads. As it says, Ubuntu is completely free to download, use and share, and that's really what's meant by open source. It's not just the case that you can download it without charge, but you can use it and you can share it with others and you can modify it. You can do what you want with it, subject to copyright law. Now, we'll download Ubuntu Desktop for the purpose, and while it says replace your current operating system, it also goes on to say, or run Ubuntu alongside it. And what we're going to do is download Ubuntu and then write Ubuntu to a USB drive so that we don't actually touch our current operating system at all. So I'm just going to click the link Ubuntu. Now you'll see that there are two versions listed here. There's Ubuntu 16.04.3. Now that means that release came out in 2016 April. LTS stands for long-term support, and what that is, it's a type of special version of Ubuntu that's designed to be supported for a longer period than other releases of Ubuntu. Now we'll see at the bottom down here, there's Ubuntu 17.10. Now that, as the title suggests, Ubuntu was released, this version of Ubuntu was released in October this year, and it's the very latest version of Ubuntu. And for our purposes, I suggest we download this version because it's got the most up-to-date software and features, and it shows the latest stage of Linux development. So you get everything. So we'll click the download button, and because Ubuntu is free of charge, Canonical, who make it, they ask for a donation, but there's no obligation to make a donation. So for now, we'll just go straight to the download, and it's now prompting me, my web browser is prompting me where to save this Ubuntu 17.10 desktop ISO file, and that's an image of the Linux distribution. So I'm going to click OK, and it's prompting me to save it into my default folder, which I've set to be a Linux folder. I'll click save, and we can monitor the progress of this download just as you would with any application that you download in Windows, and we can see that it's a 1.4 gigabyte file, so it will take time. Even on a relatively fast internet connection, it's going to take 10 minutes, and if you've got a slow connection, then it could take a lot longer. Might take an hour, might take longer than that. If it's going to take a really long time, maybe it would be a better idea to try Ubuntu a different way. For example, in purchasing a DVD of Ubuntu or purchasing a Ubuntu key. They are available at very low cost, but I like to do everything without charge at all. So as long as your broadband connection is reasonable, best to download it this way. Now I'm not going to wait the whole period because, as you see, it's got another 7 minutes. So you just have to trust me that the application, the file downloads normally. But once it's downloaded, obviously it will show you here that it's downloaded, and then we can proceed on to the next step, which is to write the Linux distribution, that Ubuntu ISO file, to a USB drive. I'm now going to show you how to install and use Etcher. It's a small open source utility designed solely for one purpose. It writes images to USB drives and SD cards. So what can we use that for? Well, it offers one way to experiment with the Linux operating system. So I've gone on to Etcher's website, which is etcher.io, and you're presented, there's a little drop down here, and there's different varieties of Etcher for different operating systems. I'll just use the 64-bit portable version, and it's prompting me now to save that Etcher file, and I'm going to save it into a Linux folder which I've got on my Windows system. It's just a temporary place that I'm storing files, so we can monitor the download. Just to see, it's 39 meg download, and it's downloaded very shortly. So we'll just open the file, and there it's opened the Etcher application. It was a bit slow there, I don't know why. Normally it's a lot quicker than that. Now what I now need to do is select the image that I previously downloaded, and I've actually downloaded 3 Linux distributions in this folder. There's Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Fedora. All 3 of these are well-respected Linux distributions, and for the purposes of this demonstration I'm going to write the Ubuntu 17.10 Linux distribution to my USB key. So I just select that file, click open, and it's recognised that file. It's now prompting me to select a drive. As it stands, I haven't got any removable drives detected, and this software won't let me install or try to install that Linux ISO file to the hard drive, because I don't want to remove the data that's on my hard drive. I want to install it to a USB drive. So what I just need to do is plug in my USB drive. I've plugged in the drive, and it's recognised it as a Kingston Data Traveller 3.0 USB device. So I know that it's going to write that image to my USB key. It's not going to try and write it to anywhere else. And now all I need to do is press the flash button. Now you won't see this, but you receive a user account control dialog box. You just have to click yes there, and it then starts the writing process. You can see the bar, and it's got starting with a brownie background, and it takes a little while to initialize the writing process, so you just have to be a little bit patient. Now this will give me a little opportunity just to explain why I like Etcher. Now you can see it's now proceeding to write that Ubuntu image file, which is a Ubuntu Linux distribution, to my USB drive, and it's done 15%. So why do I like Etcher? Well, it's really simple to use. I've shown you all the steps in a couple of minutes of how to write an image to a USB drive. It offers validated burning. It's hard drive friendly. As we notice, it wouldn't let me write that ISO file to the hard drive. It works on all 3 major platforms, and there are no difficult installation instructions. And of course, it's also open source software, so you've got full access to the source code if you ever want to look at what the application is doing, and maybe even modify it if you're a programmer, or help contribute in another way to the project. So this USB key isn't that quick, so it takes a little while to to write the image to the key. So it's almost finished. Now, the good thing about Etcher is that because it's multi-platform, the same process is followed if you're on a Linux or on a Mac computer. The same you follow the same process. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this application offers validated burning, and what does that mean? Well, it's checking that the image that's been written to the USB drive is what should have been written to the USB drive. In other words, that there's no corruption on that file, so that when I boot my machine with the USB drive, it should work fine. Now it's got another minute to go. Now, if you like this video, please give the video a like. It really helps the channel. And please also subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing a whole masterclass on Linux specifically designed for beginners, people who've never used Linux before. So hopefully, if you're keen and eager to try Linux for the first time, this set of tutorials will be really helpful to you. And I would really appreciate your feedback. And if there are things that I've skipped over or that you don't understand, please put them in the comments, and then I can respond to them. And maybe even I'll make an additional video if needed on any particular point. So please, please, please give me your suggestions. It's up to you what I do, really, and I'm happy to do as much as what you want. Okay, it's almost completed the validation process, and the final thing that I like about Etcher is it automatically unmounts the USB drive for you, so that you're now ready to reboot your system and run Linux from that USB drive. You may have to configure your BIOS to ensure that the USB drive is the first bootable device on your machine, so that your machine doesn't boot from your hard disk as normal. But that's it. Thank you for your time. I hope you found this interesting. Take care.